Hello, this is part two of learning HTML and CSS, where we're gonna code this website alongside me, and I'll show you how to do this. But so for this course, what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of like inspect the website in the developer tools. So just to remind you, you can go to more tools here and then click on developer tools, or you can do a command a option I if you have a Mac. I think it's another command, another shortcut if you're on Windows or Linux. But you can find out the shortcut by just going in this menu and looking at it. Um, so there's a few things that we're gonna need to build this website, and that's like the font files, images that we're gonna need, and also like so the font is for the text, obviously, but also for the icons. So the icons generally come from a font file. So we're gonna need to like figure out where that font file is on this website, and then copy it and move it over to our website, right? So the way you do that is when you open um, this developer tools, you can go under sources here, and you can see here that there's a few font files. There's uh, these different font files, but instead of downloading directly, we can see like in the CSS here, there's this CSS file where this is kind of like linking the font files, and actually we can see here that the font files are coming directly from this website. So like if you go directly to this website, uh, you'll see that it's like downloading a font file, right? So we just downloaded this font file. I already had it. I already downloaded prior to this video. So that's why we see this like number one in parenthesis, because there's a duplicate file here. But we don't need to download it. You can just link to that actual link itself. So that way we'll have Julius Sans one, and then Libre Baskerville. And then let's look at the other stuff that they have here. There's a few images that we might need to download. This one, noise.png. We can't see it probably because it's like white and a white image and without background, so we can't really see it. There's this image that we're gonna need to download, and then here in this CSS file we see that it's linking another font called Verde Moderna, and this font is for the icons, right? So and this one is actually, we see that the URL is not linking to a URL, so we're going to need to download this actual font file, and the font file is right here actually. So we can just download this one, copy link address, and it just downloads it here, show in Finder. I had already downloaded it, so let me just it's too bad it doesn't, browser doesn't ask you like where to save it. It just like saves it in this downloads folder, so you kind of have to, here, let me move this to trash. I already have it here, so let me just grab this, I'll copy it, and then in development I have this coding course folder. I'm gonna create a new folder called part 2 because this is the second episode in this series. And then in here I'm gonna create a folder called fonts, and I'm gonna paste this font here, right? All right. Let's just download all the images. So, copy link address. Okay. Save image as. Go into documents. Coding core. That's not it. It's in development. Coding course. Part 2. Here we're going to create new folder called images. And here we just save this bamboo photo. Alright. And there's this contours. Copy link address. Save image as. Contours opaque. And this one. We're going to do this for every single photo or image, so that we all have these images. Oh, wait. Oh, this is an SVG. All right. So it's actually like just a background color. I don't understand what this image is really. Perhaps we're not going to need it. Maybe we're not going to need it, but because I don't quite get what this image is, but it just looks like some gray color. I don't quite understand why we would need that, but let's just download them in case, and if we don't need it, we'll just delete it. It's just like the first step of, if you want to rebuild an existing website, you kind of need the assets that the website uses. But perhaps we'll do some things differently, so we'll see. I'm improvising in this course, by the way. Like, I haven't done this before. Like, I downloaded some of the files just to see what some of them look like the font files or whatever, but I'm building this as we go. Alright, so we have the font file, we have all the images, and these we could also download, but since they're just linking to they're basically on the cloud, right? They're already on this website, and we can link directly to this website to get the font. So we could download it, but we can also just refer to it directly to the cloud version, right? Where it's hosted in the cloud. Alright, so let's create our website. We'll go here. This was last episode's website. So we're going to close that. We're going to create a new file. Save as in coding course part 2. And here we'll create index.html. Alright, and then we'll create, type the shortcut in HTML : and then tab to get the boilerplate. We can delete this line because it's not necessary, like we mentioned before. And then here we'll just name it CSS Zen Garden, I think. What's the title? Yeah. And here we can just put in the style tag. We can just copy all these fonts. Need to indent this properly. Indentation in coding is super important, by the way. So, like, anything that's a child of something needs to be indented one tab in, right? So you press tab, and it's gonna like indent this, and then also the content generally needs to be indented as well one tab in. Uh, the content, the properties that are um, inside curly brackets. The curly brackets in most languages are there to like signify scope. What that means is that whatever you put in between the curly brackets is scoped to, uh, let's say in this case this font face, right? So this is one font face, and then these properties are scoped to it. And then same thing here. We want to indent this in. And like if we don't indent it, the code is still gonna work. But these are conventions that are important in the world of programming, and if you don't indent stuff properly, your colleagues or your boss will tell you. All right. And then we have one last one for icons. So let's put it here. Okay. Oh, I'm missing a closing bracket, closing curly bracket. Alright, so let's save this. And then let's try it out. So in the body, well, let me actually indent. This is not properly indented as well, so let me indent this. Okay. So we'll write hello world here, and then give it a class of, I don't know, first line. And then up here, we're gonna refer to, the class first line. And then let's say give it a font family of Julius Sans 1 just to see if it works. And then a font size of, I don't know, 24 pixels. Okay. Let's open this site in Google Chrome. Hey, this works. It's in the font Hello World, it's in the Julius Sans 1 font. If we modify this to Libre Baskerville, and we save it, we refresh the page. Hey, looks like the proper font as well. Here, you can like uncheck the font family to see what it would look like without it. And then the font size. Alright. And then let's, I guess, try to open an image and close the section. All right, so this koi JPEG image, we can try to um, show that image, just test that we can. So the image is self-closing, like we mentioned. It has this source attribute, and then last course we put a like a HTTP URL, which linked to a bear on the cloud, like a bear image that was hosted on some server, right, online. Now we have the image in our folder, and then the folder was called images, and then it was koi.jpg. The dot in front refers to the current folder, right? So if you don't put a dot in front, this actually maybe would work. Like generally you have to put a dot in front just to refer to, okay, we're starting at this current folder, and then we're gonna go to slash images and then slash koi JPEG. So if we refresh our page, we see that we got our image, and if we don't have the dot, I'm not even sure if it's gonna work. Yes, see, the image is broken, so it doesn't work. So you need the dot in front. All right, and then let's try our icons. So here, if you inspect this icon, you will see that the HTML is set on this before attribute, content 5. This is kind of weird, but you'll see what it is. You'll see what it is. So basically, what we're gonna do is create a class called it's gonna be the name of the icon. So this is HTML5. Let's say HTML5, and then we need to put a colon before on it. To be honest, like, I'm not exactly sure. This is kind of like to put styling on, not directly on that div, but like before it. I'm not exactly sure what it means, but that's the way that icon fonts are coded in HTML. So you kind of need to, on this, you need to add this like colon before, and then add a content property, and here it refers to, we see that refers to 5. So the font file is coded, like it has like some codes. So here we're referring to the font, the icon number 5, I guess. And then obviously it's font family Verde Moderna. I'm gonna copy that. So font family Verde Moderna. Oops. Semicolon, not comma. And then here, if you just put a div, you put a self-closing div with the class of HTML5, and we save it. Oh, that didn't work. Okay, let's debug this. Alright, So here it's content for. Maybe it needs to be a span. It's possible. Nope. If it's an A. No. Oh, maybe I need a font size? No. What am I doing wrong? Oh, I know what it is. I can put this back to a div. I think that I'm not linking this file properly. So here I'm gonna, I have this format. So this is like for other formats. They just put like a whole bunch of possible formats, but since we only have that one file, we're just gonna use this one. So we can delete all these other possible formats. It's probably to support like, other older browsers and stuff like that. And then, like I said, we need to refer to this folder and then fonts / Verde Moderna. I'm gonna save this. There you go. And then obviously the font is way too small, so I'm gonna put it 36 here, and then refresh the page. There you go. You have this icon, and then on the icon itself, you can put a color. Actually, I can't remember if we put the color on the class itself or the before the class. Let me just test it real quick. Oh yeah, okay, it's on the class itself. So if we put a blue color, it would change colors, and then you can also put a background color if you want. If you put a background color, it's going to be like an orange rectangle underneath it. This is okay. So here, the div by default is going to take like the entire width. And then the reason why it's not going all the way to the end is because the image is bigger than the width of the page. That's why. So really, like we could put image with 100% and it would be smaller. Yeah, there you go. So, and 100% is gonna take the width of the page, right, like this. We also see that the body here has kind of like this extra margin by default. It has like a margin of 8 pixels by default, so we can remove that. So here we can say body gonna have a margin of 0 pixels. And actually, when you put 0, you don't need to mention that they're pixels. You just put 0. And then here, we don't need to refer to a class because we're referring to an actual tag name. So actually here, when we're referring to the class, you could actually also specify the tag name, right? It's a div dot first line, and the dot first line means class name is first line. But this is a shortcut. You don't need to mention the tag name. That's like optional. But in the case of the body, there's no class name. There's just one tag name body, so you can actually just refer to the tag name. And then the image, we can just say image 100%. Image dot, let's just call it logo. And then it's going to be width 100%. And we need to add the class here of logo. And then let's see what that gives. All right. So the background div, the div by default is going to take like the entire width. But if you say that the display is inline block, so there's a few different types of displays, right? So block is going to take like the entire width by default. Then there's inline, which generally is for like inline text, and we see that here that it kind of assumes that the font is kind of like text, I guess, with inline, so it's not grabbing like the entire height of the font. So in this case, we can just put inline block, and we see that now the background kind of takes just the width and the height of the font. But the problem is that it's rectangle, right? It doesn't, it goes over the icon. So you can add it a border radius of 100%, which would make it a circle, right? So that way you can kind of give a background color if you want to an icon, but really it's not necessary. Generally, the icon would have like its own background color, and anyway, like these icons, well, actually, let's see what they're doing. Let's expect this, and then when we hover over it, let's see the style, the hovering style. Oh, for some reason we can't force this element state. Usually you can do it. Oh, there you go. Okay. So we see that this changes color. Okay, so they're actually just changing the color of the element. Let's try that. So if we do .html5 hover, change the color to like orange or whatever. These are just tests, right? Okay. When you hover, oh, needs to be display inline block. That doesn't change the background. All right, I'll check it out and then talk about it talk about it on the next episode. Generally, you get the idea, uh, and then you can also um, put a cursor pointer on it if you want it to act like a button. So if you do that, you'll see that the cursor is going to change on it as if it was like some sort of button. All right, so we've linked to all the images and fonts. We can use the icons, and the last thing I want to do in this course, and then I'll end it for the day, is I'm going to transfer all of this to what's called a CSS file, because if we keep all our CSS in our HTML file, it can get quite long. So we kind of like outsource all of this in another file and then import it. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to save it as, and create a new folder, call it CSS, and inside the CSS I'm gonna call this styles.css, and then I'm gonna paste everything in here, save it, and then in our index.html file I'm gonna link the file and link the rel is kind of like the attribute for CSS files, and so we're linking kind of this CSS file, and probably some stuff is gonna break, so we'll just refresh it. We see that some of the styling broke, so there are some issues. Let's see. Link rel. Okay, let me probably make some sort of mistake. Link rel. Oh, sorry. The link is called href, and then the rel attribute is to specify that it's a style sheet. See, even after all my experience, I can't remember everything, so you need to Google stuff once in a while. Let's see. All right, and we see that the icon font kind of broke, and the reason why is because here we have to, so the fonts folder is not like, the dot refers to the CSS folder, and then the fonts folder is not inside the CSS folder, so you kind of have to go one folder back, and then two dots refers to, go back one folder and then slash fonts, right? It's gonna be there. And do we have, I think that was the only thing in the CSS file, so we can refresh this and it'll work. Yep. Cool. All right, so that's it for today. We just wanted to test that we could get, the proper fonts, the images, and some of the icons here. Obviously, this doesn't look like this website, but we'll get there. All right, see you in the next course. Bye.